guess what? We have something very exciting. We have one of our team members. It's Beth Koenig. Welcome, Beth. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. So this is super fun. Like I get to talk to my team. It's super awesome. Beth is in charge of the hub and she is your go-to tech gal. But before we talk about that, and she talks about all of her love about the hub and how she can help you with it to set up your website and manage your entire business with our software. The hub is our software. Before that, though, I want to hear and have everybody hear, like, let's go back because I want to hear your story again. Can you like go back and share like what your life was like before you met me, what struggles you had before you came into my world?
Okay, so we're going way back to 2020 before the
Right.
pandemic.
Yes.
So basically, I had been, working with my nonprofit, helping people. I was doing special needs tutoring. Um, of course, most of that was in person. I had just decided to come back to help my mom recover from a surgery. I just I live in I live in California, and I was going to Pittsburgh to help my mom, um, and so she had the surgery. Things went great. I was getting ready to go back home, and everything shut down. So
Mm.
I'm like watching CNN 24/7 like the rest of the world, right? And I'm scrolling on my phone during commercials. And I see start an online preschool. I'm like, I've always wanted to start a preschool online. Click. And like the rest is history. Like I was through that training in like I think under a week, and the
Yeah.
following week I was teaching. I started teaching May 4th of 2020
Yeah.
with one kiddo that I had for several months until I started getting more kiddos, and then we got up to I think it was 10 or somewhere around 10 and 12 kiddos, with live, we only were doing live preschool at the time. And so with that, we'd have kids fluctuate in and out depending on the day. And yeah, and then I started the K-12 program. Based on that training, I went through it again and I started the K-12 program, which of course is a combination of all my experience working as a special needs tutor and also helping homeschool parents. I'd gotten involved with a couple of homeschool parents and started going to homeschool conventions before the pandemic also. Um, and I was also going to school full time during all this. So I had a very interesting time of things. And so my agency, what ended up happening is my agency had been really struggling. Like, how do we help all these people? How do we get them the services and programs they need? How do we do all this? And we're trying to find like resources for them and stuff. And ultimately, over the years, I've learned that sometimes I just have to make my own resources. And so, what ended up happening is I have this preschool, I have this K-12 program. Suddenly, things start snapping into place. Well, I can get all these programs and I can have them in place and I can have them essentially funding themselves, right? And then when I get someone who needs this, it's like, oh yeah, we offer that. Here you go,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what we're building towards now. In fact, we're about to launch one of our first scholarship programs. Um, we've actually already, I'm doing affiliate um, marketing. We're starting to accept affiliates and stuff for our programs so that we don't have to pay for ads.
Yep.
Like who wants to pay for ads? No.
Me.
Uh, yeah, yeah, you really, Joy. We need to have a talk.
But Beth, it's how I get everybody. It's how everyone finds me.
Yeah, but yeah, I love Facebook ads for local, but for online, I still haven't been able to figure out the algorithm on that one. And
Yeah.
any online marketer will tell you that the algorithms are always changing.
Yes. Okay, so we have come full circle, and can I just be the first to say I love your story because having witnessed it since 2020 and like seeing your entire journey, I love how I've seen you evolve. And I think sometimes with All Stars, sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm going to start my preschool 6 months, a year from now, whatever. I don't need All Stars right now. But I think we need to remind everybody that it's in the process of setting up your programs, of going through the training, that you realize what you do and don't want to do. And then it's through the process of creating and actually running the programs that you realize what you do and don't want to do. And other ideas start forming, because you started with an online actually, you had your nonprofit, then an online preschool. And now look at you, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I got so many things going on right now that people often wonder when I sleep.
Yes, we all do wonder that.
Yeah, and I think one of the really cool things is that I've set, and what, being a team member in your programs, like, I have learned so much about systematizing things, documenting, all that kind of stuff. I'll literally get my assistant on a live meeting and I'll just go through the stuff in my head. It's like, okay, let's make a to-do list. Let's do this. Let's figure out what we need to do here. And we'll just start, documenting stuff. And then I can start assigning stuff out to my various assistants. I have a bookkeeper and I have a teacher. So
Yeah.
yes, I hired a teacher for my program. Actually, rather sad reason why I had to do that, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
ended up being good for the program.
Mhm.
And then I have my personal assistant, which is like a personal executive assistant, and then I have my graphic designer, video editor, also the guy that uploads all the curriculum into the hub for me so that I can just sit there and say, here's my Google Drive, go to work. Yeah.
And that brings up a good point. Let's talk about the hub. The hub was created. So, quick backstory about how Beth and I connected. Obviously, she came into our world to start her online preschool and she just took off. And I always had my eye on Beth because this is a girl who, here we had our All Stars Facebook group. And at the time, it was just me. I was like the one woman show. And so I was in the group a lot, answering every question a lot, because the group was still pretty small. And here came Beth, and she's just like this amazing support person who's just like, she started just answering questions like I wasn't paying her. She just was like helpful. And I was like, what is this? What is this to have like help? This is phenomenal. And I was like, thank you. I would always message her, thank you so much for your help. Like, you're so amazing. Like, I really appreciate it. But in the back of my mind, I kept like saying like to myself, like, I need to bring her on. Like, I need to like pay her. I need to hire her. Like, I need help. And it's literally a running joke, but it's the truth, is that I would start typing a Facebook message to Beth of like, can I please just hire you? But I wouldn't send it. Like, I'd be in so much pain of like having so much to do. And I would open up the Facebook message and I would start typing it. I would never send it because I was so scared. And I think you can probably relate. Like, before you hired your teacher, you probably knew like 6 months ago it was probably time to hire a teacher, right? But you procrastinated.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
procrastinated a lot. I knew that I needed another teacher because I had been missing classes just due to my own illnesses. And then 3 months ago, almost yesterday, it was 3 months ago, my dad had a heart attack and the following day suffered 2 strokes.
Yeah.
Um, and so we've basically been having him, he actually just went back to the ER last night. They gave him some IVs and sent him back home. So he's home now. But it has been a constant back and forth struggle. He's been to rehab twice, physical rehabilitation. And he's been, this ER visit was the fourth so basically the fifth ER visit. Luckily, he didn't need to be admitted this time because, we're learning as we go about his signs and symptoms. But
Yeah.
my family, whenever he gets out of rehab, he doesn't go to a skilled nursing facility. He comes to one of our makeshift nursing facilities, which we annexed my sister's living room.
Yeah.
Instead of 24-hour nursing for him, basically with myself, my mom, and my sister playing nursing.
Right.
And so that was an interesting experience. And then now he's actually in his own home. He got out and he's back in his own house, and we are so excited to have him back in his own house.
Yeah.
And the support that I have received in the group and from everybody is just amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, my family is going through one of the worst things, you know, we faced basically. Um, and I had to actually go back to California and grab my business partner, and I moved him over here. And so the
Mm-hmm.
next step is I have to go back and get all my stuff and move myself here because I had no plans to move to Pennsylvania before this.
Yeah.
None. I'm in California. My life
Yeah.
is California. I will never move. You will not pay me to move. And then 3 months ago,
Yeah.
my dad was in the cath lab, and I'm like, I'm moving to Pennsylvania.
Mm.
Full stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you have a business that allows you to do that. An online business honestly allows you to teach from anywhere or to manage it from anywhere, which is what you're doing right now. So let's
Yeah.
let's bring this up. So then finally I did press enter on that Facebook message, and I finally got into Beth's and then we started chatting and we figured out a really cool solution to bring her onto the team. She was our very first team member, and pretty quickly, we just started, we did our challenge together, and that was just insane. And then January came, right, like a couple months after the challenge, and that's when we were talking about these are the pain problems everybody's having. What are the pain points that everybody is going to go through, and can we solve it? Is there a better way? And the biggest pain point was everybody was doing different things for websites. Somebody would use WordPress, somebody would use Wix, somebody would use Bluehost, just everywhere. And so we said, what if we could create a solution where we all use the exact same platform to build our websites? And that's where it started. And so then we found this amazing software that we could white label and create our own platform on top of it, where we could have not only websites built and we would give the templates so it'd be even easier, but also everything else they needed to do with tech, like communication, email marketing, Facebook marketing, social media, communicating to your parents, payments, registrations, so much. And so once we realized it was that, we were like, let's go all in. And then Beth, I actually was so busy. I was like, Beth, go for it. If you want to play around with this thing for a month and figure out if this will work for us. And you did. So talk to everybody about what was your I don't know, because you obviously had this vision within you of if I just could create this thing, it would solve everything. Take us back to that moment.
Yeah, I remember you were mentioning this software to me, and I had actually just seen it like a couple days prior. Somebody else had brought it up. I'm like, oh, well, it's probably just another one of those things, right? Then you brought it up, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna pay attention to this now.
Yeah.
And so I was just reading and researching, and I'm like, okay, let me get a trial. So I signed up for a trial. I'm like, I'm one of those people that I'm not a computer programmer. I'm just one step below that. I'm a beta tester, right? And so I can talk to a computer programmer and say, okay, you got to fix this, this, and this, and I'm pretty sure it's over in this spot in your code, but double check on that.
Right.
And so I was really able to very quickly figure out the hub and start playing around with things and and doing all that. And I quickly realized this does half the stuff we think it does.
Right.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I don't know. I have all this stuff and my trial's coming up to an end. I wonder if Joy will help me pay for this. And so I showed you what I had, and you're like, yeah. So, and then I think we found it in January, and we had the first thing where we're doing beta onboarding for February. And
so you remember it was Christmas break, all y'all are just enjoying Christmas break, and then Beth is over there just busting out like an entire brand new software to just revolutionize preschool system. And she's just like spending her whole break doing that. And then February, we launched beta. We had some people go through it, and you created the entire training for it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I had a private Facebook Messenger group that still exists.
So nice.
Yeah, nice little thing is like, if you need anything, just message me. I'll figure it out.
Right.
You know, I'm like so nervous that something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
And I was shocked when beta actually went so smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what?
You know?
And then we're like, well, I'm pretty sure we should just do beta for 2 months. And you're like, no, let's just launch to the, we're good. Like, let's just launch for the first 100 people. And we did that, and that went so great too. And I'm like,
yeah. Well, of course it did, because you created it.
Yeah, it was amazing. And then I know there's so many people that like, and we had requirements for that beta. You remember we had a special meeting on Google Meet where everybody had to prove they could share their screen in order to get into beta, just so I would have access, to make sure that anything that went wrong could be fixed.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, this is me totally having fun right now, guys. But I absolutely love the hub, and just remembering those days brings me so much joy and excitement, because I remember feeling that joy and excitement, right? And even today, when we get a new feature in the hub, like I was actually playing with a beta feature in the hub the other day, and now it's actually a live feature.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yay! And it just like, I just saw it turn live today.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I can access this. I don't have to go to the beta site to do it. And like, and so I just absolutely love this stuff. Yeah, that's
okay. So we launched Hub, and this was 2021, and it was hilarious because I had just launched the podcast, the Preschool All Stars podcast, in January 2021. Meanwhile, you're building. So that's why I wasn't doing anything, because I was launching the podcast. So we launched the podcast in January. You rolled out the hub in February. We did our biggest challenge ever in April. And then we did full by fall in the summer. Like, we were insane. There's a reason why we don't do so much anymore. We kind of burned ourselves out. But anyways, so we did all that. And then hub was just taking off. Like, it was like, whoa.
Yeah. Like, so many people, like, oh my gosh, so many people signed up for the hub. I think we had 400 after that initial 100 people. We got up to 400 members real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, now we're way above 500 members. So yeah.
Yeah. So, so then hub's going awesome. And then we revamped the training so it gets even faster and easier for you. So you can set up your website in an hour. We rebuilt the templates. Like, we actually kind of like went through and was just like, okay, if we were going to build this again, 1 year later, knowing all we know now, how would we redo this? And then we just,
oh my gosh. I remember those Post-its I had, and I was like just reorganizing sections and sending you pictures.
So Beth, so we were like, let's scrap it all. So like, we built this beautiful thing and all the training was done. And then we're like, you know what? What if we could just save everybody 5 hours? What if we could save everybody 10 hours? Like, what if it doesn't even matter? Like, however much time we can save them, we need to like scrap the whole thing and start back from scratch. And we're like, how would we redo the training? How would we redo all the templates and make them so fast and easy, so modern, all these things? And so anyways, we redid it, and I think it's working really well.
Oh yeah. And one of my favorite things is this conversation we had, right? We're like, what if we could get their website done in a day?
Right.
Yeah, let's do that. Right. And then Joy's like, what if we got it done in an hour? And I'm like, what, who, where, what? And then we came up with a way to actually do it.
Yeah. Well, because that was the thing, because everybody wanted their websites like customized and colors. And, you want it to feel like it's your own. And the templates we had before were good, but it was a lot of like, you got to kind of figure out how to do them yourself, kind of, And we were just like, what if we did everything for them and all they had to do was like change the image color, right? Or there's the logo spot, just change the logo, change this one line, change this one price. And so with that in mind, that's why everything changed, because we're like, if that's our goal, that people have to be able to do this in an hour, well, then Joy needs to be able to do it in 5 minutes. If I can create your website in 5 minutes because of all my tech knowledge now, then multiply that by 20, a factor of 20. Like, I can do it in 5 minutes. We'll give you an hour to do it. Like the people. So, and that was the intention. Like, let's just save as much time as we possibly can for all of our all-stars. And it was phenomenal. I was like, okay, now we have to test it. So I was like, okay, guys. And we pushed it out to everybody. And then we had a new group of people going through, and we're like, okay, this is where it really gets tested, right? And I said, I was promising, right? Remember, I was promising, I was like, you can get it done in less than an hour. And I was like, set your alarm, right? And I'm like, oh, this could blow up in my face. Because people would be like, I mean, if it blew up, people might be like posting like, this took me 3 hours, Joy, you said 1. But thankfully, people were like, it took me 20 minutes. It took me 30 minutes. It took me exactly 1 hour. It took me 50 minutes. I think Jamisha made like 2 or 3 websites in an hour. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
So now let's give you this opportunity to chat with everybody about what Tech Tuesday is about, how you can help them during Tech Tuesday, and just your love of tech and all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My love of tech started back when I was a kid. My dad is a computer engineer by trade. And so for my entire life, I grew up around computers. When I was 2 years old, I went into his den and I logged into his work computer while he was at work. And you see, when you dial into a computer server when the guy's already at work, it sets off alarm bells. So they're like, I think like something's going on with your like, and it's like he came home and no, it was the 2-year-old that did it. My poor dad's like, how am I going to explain that my 2-year-old can log in?
Yeah.
Because you don't think anything of letting the kids sit there and watch you type on your phone, guys, but I'm telling you, if you type your password enough.
Right?
Yeah. Anyways, so I grew up around computers, and it's like I actually have Asperger's syndrome, or a high functioning autism, would be called autism spectrum disorder now, according to the DSM-5. But I had a hard time growing up, and computers were kind of my gateway into the world, because when you can solve computer problems, people start looking at you differently. Instead of this like kid that like would just freak out over things, it's like, hey Beth, look at the computer. And I could just go, and on a computer I can be myself. I can be completely myself.
Yeah.
And so that became, as I was growing up, that became, a thing. I was actually learning so much stuff. I was in a group that was made for professionals, and they didn't know that I was a high school student. Okay, I'm helping them as a high school student. These people that have master's degrees.
Yeah.
They're coming to me for help because they know I know what I'm talking about on this one subject. And for me, that was like, okay, this is cool. Eventually, they figured out that I wasn't a member of their organization. After like 3 years, they kicked out everybody who wasn't a member of their organization. They went through their roster and finally figured it out. But they still didn't know I was only a high school student.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, I've just been, when I joined the nonprofit, I joined right out of, basically right out of high school. I joined the nonprofit back in 2001. Actually, I was still in high school, technically speaking. That summer, I graduated and joined the nonprofit and started to work and do all those things. The nonprofit, and we would have computer issues show up. I learned to read and write HTML to make websites. I learned how to take a bunch of broken machines, tear them down and put them back together again, which I already partially knew from, fixing stuff with my dad before, but I was doing it in mass,
Yeah.
And stuff like this. And I was working with versions of Linux, which is an operating system. And I still remember one time this guy, this was when Google Translate had come out.
Mm-hmm.
He only knew Italian. I asked him, "Hey, do you know any English?" "No, I only speak Italian. Can you help me with this Linux problem I have?" And so I spent an hour using Google Translate to speak to him in Italian, and I fixed his problem.
Yeah.
And like, okay, cool. But everybody's like, "Well, Beth, you should go into computers. You should be a programmer. You should do this and this and this." And I'm like, no. I know one thing about computers, and they are frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, they are the most frustrating thing you will ever find, but they're also the most consistent thing you will ever find. Okay. And so my love of consistency overcomes my frustration most days.
Yeah.
And on the days it doesn't, there's a reason laptops shut.
Right.
Yeah.
So Tech Tuesday. So Beth does Tech Tuesday every Tuesday night for 2 hours. You jump on Zoom in our All Stars group, and Beth will be there. And of course, the hub training has step by step, like I walk you through everything. It's got the video with exactly how to do it in the workbook and then on the hub. So you have the training. So first off, remember, first you go through the training. But if you ever get stuck, you can always post in the group to get help. But if you need even more help, every Tuesday night you can jump on with Beth. And so, like, what would they experience during Tech Tuesday? What kind of help could you offer?
Wow, there's so many things that we can do during Tech Tuesday. Aside from just like troubleshooting issues with Cloudflare, things like that, with the domains and stuff. Unfortunately, with domains, there's this thing where all the servers have to propagate, which means they have to make copies of things. And sometimes they don't do that correctly. And so that's when we have issues with the domains in Cloudflare. But
can always fix it.
Yeah,
She finds it.
I have 100% success rate in fixing issues with domains, and that's
Yes.
because I don't give up.
Right?
Yeah.
Michelle asked what times did Tech Tuesday begin? It is 8 p.m. Eastern for 2 hours.
Yeah, so it's 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific, which is the time zone I used to be in.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's really cool because we can do pretty much anything, tech related. I help people with very low tech skills, even some people that are having trouble like using a mouse. I've helped.
Yeah. How do we right click, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do we make bookmarks, and how do we, make sure we're saving the passwords to all these different sites so we can just click our bookmark and then click login and we're where we need to be instead of trying to go through our password notebook, right? Like very basic stuff. So if you have trouble with tech, I can help you with very basic stuff to very advanced stuff. I help somebody make a Shopify store in their hub. I've helped people completely like make websites from scratch. It's it may take you more than one Tuesday to accomplish something depending on the project, but we've done pretty much almost everything in Tech Tuesday.
And of course, we're going to go through the workbook first. We don't just show up to Tech Tuesday and say, okay, Beth, like give me an hour and you show me how to do the website. No, we're going to have you go through the website first, or the workbook first, because it does teach you exactly what to do. But if you get stuck, you can always go to Tech Tuesday.
Yeah, and we have people that actually come to Tech Tuesday just because they love seeing what other people are working on and learning stuff from them. Because, recently someone met with me today, and there's a thing where Facebook, you have to switch between your profiles now, between your personal and your business profile. You actually have to switch. She had gotten stuck in her business profile. She didn't know how to switch to her personal profile. Okay, so like these things that pop up, if you're just having a frustrating day and you realize it's Tuesday night, like pop in and see what we can do. Like, let's just get it solved so you don't have to be frustrated for the rest of the week.
Yep.
And I really love Tech Tuesday. In fact, it sometimes is the best part of the week because I know that people are going to show up. I'm going to be able to solve their problems, even if I can't solve my own problems.
Oh, I
Especially
love
with my dad's situation,
Yeah.
like there are often times like I'm completely helpless. I mean, yeah, I can go and I can read up on his conditions, I can study all this stuff, and of course that's what I was doing. But at the end of the day, I don't have access to those labs. I don't have access to actually doing the blood work myself. I don't have access to all the metrics. I don't have the fluency of reading an EKG, right? I
Right.
don't have that. But what I do have, I have control over the tech, right? Like
Yeah.
the computer, the stuff on the computers and helping other people with their computers. I have that ability, and that's something I can do.
Yeah.
Even if I can't help my dad right in that instance, I can go and I can help other people, and then that gives my brain a rest, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
engaged. Sometimes I'll go and I'll try and teach. I have to be careful though. You don't want to there's some days you just shouldn't be around kids, and so I'm always like checking in with myself, like, is this a day where I'm having too much trouble?
Sure.
And I'll be honest, I've had to end class early a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't feeling it, and I knew that me staying in that room would be a detriment.
Yeah. No, and you're learning so much about yourself. Like
Yeah.
I remember when you first came into the group, one of the things that well, let me ask you this. When you first found All Stars, okay, why did you stay?
Oh my gosh. Like, I found my people.
Mm.
Like, there's so much like support, and I just it's still the best group on Facebook, hands down. Like, you go into all these other groups and you're like, what is going on with these people? I mean, these are like professional groups too. I'm like, gee, I wouldn't let I would have blocked that comment, but you go into All Stars and you see everything, and you're like, people are, speaking out about things that they're having trouble with, and just and people actually come up with constructive solutions sometimes and stuff to help people too. It's not just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, feel better, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, well, have you considered this, have you considered that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and having that ability, I mean, we do have a bit of that cheerleading stuff that goes on, which is really good too, but we also have people that are giving feedback, and like posting, images, because when you're developing a logo, you know how scary it is. Like, okay, I have like 5 different versions of this logo,
Right.
and I don't
Just
like
tell me
any
which
of
one, right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you're just like, okay, just post it out there and see if people can find it. Or you finished your flyer and you're not sure that if there's mistakes in it or not. I'm like,
Yeah.
I cannot print this. Okay, I've printed brochures for my agency without having them proofread before, and people will come up to the booth and they'll start pointing out the errors.
There's almost always an error. If somebody posts a flyer in the All Stars group, like people will pick it up almost like immediately, like, oh wait, oh, I think you misspelled that word, like even with our best intentions of looking for misspellings, it's really good to have extra eyes. I always say
Yeah.
it's really important to not create in a vacuum, but to create in a place where you can get a ton of collaboration and feedback, which that's what All Stars does too.
Oh, yeah. And you would think with everybody, creating their own preschool that there'd be competition, but that's not what happens.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I actually didn't even think that, like, I didn't even think that would be a thing because before we always had local preschool. So I'm like, unless there's like two neighbors next to each other, I'm not even worried. Then we started doing online preschool and it still was never a thing. But I remember seeing comments in the group about, I'm so glad that nobody is like in competition with each other. We all just share. And I was like, Oh, you're right. Like it wasn't even a thing. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, and it's not a thing. It's like when you're in there, you're like, oh well, okay, I'll help you, do this with this, and
Yeah.
you're like, well, and then one day I was like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, these people have more kids than me. Um, but the thought in my head wasn't immediately like, oh my gosh, they're my competition. It was like, oh my gosh, what are they doing right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and so we're learning from each other. And guys, there are so many kids in this world. There are more kids than there is access to
You can
education.
never teach them all.
Yeah. And that's another thing that actually keeps me awake at night sometimes. I'm like, how do I find those kiddos that need me? And how
Mm,
can I help others find the kiddos that need them? And
yes.
that's like that's why, because I know that my program's not for every kid. I
Mhm.
know that. I know my program's better in most cases than what they if they had,
Right.
but I also know that my program is not going to meet the needs of every kiddo, right?
Mhm.
I've seen, when I was doing special needs tutoring, I saw, different things and stuff and kids in different programs, and I saw ones that worked really well and ones that completely failed. And so if you're seeing those kind of differences in public schools and private programs and stuff, then they're going to have those differences in online programs. And so every online program is going to be different and unique,
Mhm.
because, there's just different dynamics and stuff. And what's so cool is that we have so many different niches. And there's still more niches out there that need to be created, guys.
Right?
Like, there's still more that we need. Like, I don't know. There is like what, 208 languages in the world that are like recognized by the UN or something like that. I don't know. Um, but I'll tell you, I only do American Sign Language. There's still British Sign Language, Australian Sign Language, Korean
Or
Sign
Harry
Language.
Potter. That was horrible. I go into like an accent and I end up in Australian or something else.
Yeah, and like it's it's just so amazing, like all these different things, right?
Yeah.
Like I just I don't know. I get so like almost teared up when I think of all the possibilities. And we're
Mhm.
just talking preschool, right? When we expand out to
Yeah.
the K-12 realm, to maybe adult education,
Mhm.
and we go younger to infant education. I mean, there is ample opportunity. And the cool thing is that this program can be adapted to all of it.
Right.
And that's just absolutely astounding, really, when you think about it. And
And that was crazy too when we started seeing like people going outside of preschool
mhm,
because like that's all that I've ever done was just preschool period. And so now I'm seeing people take preschool in a box and they're creating like K-12s and micro schools and tutoring and homeschool enrichment and all these after school classes, right? And marketing to daycares. And it's just like, what? Like
yeah,
same foundation, tweak the word preschool into whatever you want to put, tweak the ages, the price, etc. And it's a model that can, you got a teaching business, stick it in.
yeah, yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And the even more amazing thing is that the software we made
Oh my gosh.
supports it all. Like, oh
And
my
then
god.
some. So
Yeah.
people who don't know, to clarify, you may think like our hub software is just for preschools, and you're like, oh, bummer, I have a t-shirt business. That would have been nice. The software runs any of your businesses and all of your businesses. You can have as many domains, businesses in your hub as you want. Um, we've just added templates for websites, for email copy, for all these other things specific to preschool because we're like, hey, you are following the preschool path. Let's just get you done as fast as possible so everything's done for you. But once you learn how to do it once with preschool, or you can change the word to kindergarten or whatever. Once you learn how to do it once, you're like, oh, this is how the hub works. Oh my gosh, I can like replicate this with a t-shirt business, a dog walking business. My husband has this business. Like it doesn't matter, right? You can just any business stick it in there and just
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I've actually even like thought of different like businesses that could technically be run using a hub account. Like, like literally, like, because you can build any website in there. What's to
Mhm.
stop you from like charging your neighbors for their website to be done in there? Like, like I don't know like the whatever on that, but technically speaking,
I don't know. Let's not go there.
well, yeah, I know, like, but yeah, if you have a dog walking business, you can
Yeah.
totally do a dog walking. And the thing is, here's the thing. We have scheduling software, so you can actually have the people schedule in their dogs automatically. You just get a list of people's dogs, and those are
Okay,
the ones you
next
pick up.
business, Beth. We're gonna, how to start a dog walking business. Everybody look out for that. That's the name of my next book, actually. You just ruined it. Beth, I wanted to keep it a secret. Girl, this has been amazing. So, my question to you, if anybody was concerned about tech and why that might prevent them from creating a business, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say that you're in the right place joining Preschool All Stars because we got the tech pretty much covered. And I'll tell you, if there's an issue, and I'm aware of it, it will get solved.
Yes.
Like, period. Like,
It's like itchy if it's like if there's an issue.
mhm.
It's like, no, I have to solve it.
Yeah, Joy knows me too well. I'll be like boxing her, like, and she's like, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait until they respond.
Beth, you're awesome, girl. Thank you for everything you've done for Preschool All Stars. I mean, there's every single person in Preschool All Stars is helped because of you. So, with all of the things you've created, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. I am so grateful to be a part of this. Like, it's just been an amazing part of my life. And like, if somebody had told me 3 years ago that this is the direction I was going to go in, like, it was like, no, you're not serious. It's like, oh, but wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really love tech, guys. So even if you just want to pop on Tech Tuesday to talk tech, like
Dog shop.
yeah, yeah, I enjoy geeking out to the people who are more tech savvy too. And I love talking about this stuff. It's one of my passions.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
But
right, girl. Well, you are awesome. You have an awesome night.
all right, you too. I'll see you guys later.
Absolutely. See ya.